Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, where today I'd like to kick things off by saying a big thank you to all of you. Obviously, after the last video there was an outpouring of support for what I'd actually asked in terms of what I should keep, what I should sell, and that kind of survey that we ran. But also there was an outpouring of support from you guys who, to all intents and purposes, put a bit of an internet arm around me, if you like, during these troubling times. I know they're troubling for everyone, but it was great to hear from some of you in terms of, you know, the difficult times that you've been through in the past, how you went through them and overcame them and came out all the better for them the other side. So that was really great. Like I say, it hasn't fallen on deaf ears. I know I didn't get to reply to all of you, and for that I apologize, but like I say, thank you to everyone who did that. So where did we actually come to, and what conclusions did you guys try to help me reach in terms of my collection? Well, to all intents and purposes, if I were to listen to you guys, the advice seemed to follow along the lines of sell those big ticket items, the rare guns, the big guns that had lots of money poured into them in the first place. Maybe even create sort of package deals where I'm selling guns off with optics and accessories and all the rest of it, just to kind of sweeten the basket, if you like, to some degree. And that's all great advice, and I cannot stress that enough. That is probably exactly what I should do. However, there were a few niche entries into the forum, and they're the ones that kind of bent my ear a little bit, because it kind of told me what I wanted to hear, which was more along the lines of sell the stuff that just doesn't tickle your pickle, doesn't float your boat, and all that kind of stuff. So first off, I had to kind of take a step back and decide, for me, what was that? What did that represent? And what I came down to was, obviously there are some items that I couldn't bring myself to part with, because if I were to ever rebuild a collection in the future and you know, sort of try and piece everything together, I would want those rare items in that collection, for, you know, just for the sake that I don't think I'd ever see them again if I got rid of them now. So for me, that's things like the KWA gas blowback Vector, certainly my Marui PSG-1, and you know, to arguably my Tokyo Marui Spas 12, even though it's not a fully fledged Spas 12 from Marui. I bought the folding stock separately, but it's something you just don't see out on the field all that often, certainly where I am anyway. So it's about keeping the stuff that necessarily I don't know that I'd be able to acquire again in the future, or warrant spending the money on again in the future. In that as well would obviously be my MTW setup. The two guns I had custom made as a set, the MTW and the Breacher, all custom Cerakoted and stuff like that. I'm never going to go to that extent again. I'm never going to, you know, pour that much money into one rifle or one setup again. And certainly the MTW, to a certain degree, it encompasses everything that I want to see from a rifle. You know, it has all the accessories that I wanted put on it. Like I say, it was custom Cerakoted, the colour I want, all the stock and the pistol grip and everything were sourced specifically because I wanted them. So like I say, I don't think I'd ever go to that extent again and pour that money in, so they need to stay with me. Outside of that though, the thing that makes airsoft fun for me and that, you know, draws me to a rifle is the feel and the sort of how it immerses you in your game day. I think that can be summed up in a very recent game day that me and the rest of the ORC went on quite recently down to Thunder Park, where at one point we were just holding this piece of ground, stopping the opposition coming in and medvacing their VIP out and that kind of thing. And I think we had about 3 NGRSs and a gas blowback all rattling off at the same time, and the noise and, you know, everything that went along with that was just so immersive, and that encompasses everything that made it fun. You know, obviously the teamwork and everything as well, but yeah, you get my drift. So it boils down to trademarks and, you know, the build quality of the rifle. Is it using the right rails and the right pistol grips and all the rest of it? Is it rattling and shaking and making a noise? And a good noise, not just a whiny gearbox noise. Yeah, that largely encompasses the NGRSs in my collection, the Scar and the 416 and that kind of thing. And to a lesser degree, maybe things like the Hera arms and the L85 AFV, both blowback as well. More kind of simulated, more noise related. The recoil feel isn't really there as such, but it's things like that that draw me in. So that essentially means there's a large portion of my collection that doesn't tick that box, and that's probably, on reflection, why those guns don't get used an awful lot on skirmish days. Things like my Cyma SUV. SUV? No, SVU. Yeah, a sports utility vehicle. Yeah, the SVU. It's a great looking rifle. I absolutely adore it, to look at it and you know, play around with it in the garden and that kind of thing, take a few shots from distance and what have you, but it doesn't really come out to skirmish days with me because it is just, it's not dead. Non-blowback rifles aren't dead by any stretch of the imagination, but they don't immerse me as much, so it doesn't tend to get used. Things like my PCC 45, a very recent acquisition and an extremely good rifle. But again, you know, it will get sidelined in favour of taking out my MP7 or something like that. So that's kind of really where I am. Like I say, there are exceptions to that. The MTW, probably the most dead gun and soulless weapon in my collection, I think. You know, I've often described the MTW as almost feeling like you're playing a video game because A, it's so capable, but the trigger response and everything else, and just the fact that there is nothing going on with the rifle at all, it just leaves you feeling a bit soulless and like you're just clicking a mouse pointer and that kind of thing. So that gets a pass because of what it is, but yeah, like I say, there's a lot. The Bren 805, the both of my AK-47s, or you know, one's an AK-47, the other's AKMS and that kind of thing, they fall into that category. So when I'm sitting there and looking at my collection as it is at the minute, what I can get rid of, I'm looking at getting rid of the stuff that essentially doesn't immerse me on a game day. And then if I'm looking to rebuild a collection in the future, that's kind of where I'm gonna have to look, you know, and think to myself, well, what do I actually want from a collection? It's gonna be that immersion, that feel. So another example would be my Tokyo Marui AUG, or AUG. Fantastic rifle, high cycle motor in it, fires out BBs like a hose, phenomenal. Not the greatest trigger in the world, as is typical with most AUGs. I know you can get a Perrin and you know, sort of upgrade it and that kind of thing, but essentially that still wouldn't make it a blowback, wouldn't give it that feel, probably wouldn't see that much use. And if I was to replace that in the future and go for another AUG, obviously there is a gas blowback one out on the market already, but I'm led to believe that KWA are producing an AUG gas blowback as well that would probably be very, very good, or very, you know, very capable anyway. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. Even things like the Cyma Blue Edition MP5A5 that I have, really, really good rifle. I was actually putting together the final shots and getting quite close to the idea that I was gonna put a video out based upon the Cyma MP5 Blue, saying it is the best pound for pound rifle out on the market at the minute. I think it's incredibly capable. at £250 or less. I've seen them. They're a bargain. They have fantastically available magazines from lots of different companies at dirt cheap prices. Cyma probably produced the best one with the fake dummy rounds in it and stuff. But it's a gun that you don't have to pour a hell of a lot of money into. Certainly in terms of pouches as well, and you'd have a very capable setup that you could play indoors, outdoors, anything like that, and it wouldn't really make a difference. So that's how good that rifle is, and yet that rifle falls into the it doesn't immerse me enough to keep it in my collection category, and ultimately will probably go because of that. So yeah, some tough decisions have been made, but I feel positive about them. I feel like this is somewhere, this is a good thing. I've come to a good place, largely because of some of your advice and help, but also because of my unyielding optimism. But yeah, I think I can go away, reduce the collection, get everything sorted in life and all the rest of it, and then start looking at rebuilding a really fantastic collection of rifles that I absolutely know 100% categorically that I will take out on game days and use and love and enjoy all the time, because they will be able to immerse me. So yeah, that's where we are, guys. That's what I'm going to do now. One thing I did want to point out as well, guys, is the channel isn't going anywhere. Regardless of how big or small the collection is, I've got plenty of stuff in store and you know, plenty of ideas on the table that we can bring to the channel and where we can go, and also an alternative channel that I'm going to be starting up soon as well. So let's look forward to the future, and I shall see you in the next one.